The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio. From hot dogs to cool kitties, this is Darkside of the Pooch.
Welcome back to the dark side of the Pooch. He's Dr. Rab Stewart. He's the owner of the Rossbridge Animal Hospital, of course, 208-0301 at rossbridgevet.com. Does wonderful work out there. And, of course, he's the man of the hour, the half hour, depending on how long we go on our podcast. You can hear it every single Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock. I think it's 5 o'clock Central there, Dr. Rab, on the TKR app. Great classic rock and roll. It's funny because I know you used to listen to my TKR app. A lot of people used to. I used to be all classic rock for 24 hours a day. And then I started getting these podcasts, and now I run podcasts pretty much from like 6 o'clock in the morning to like almost 8 o'clock at night. So a lot of people tune in and go, "Where's the music?" And I'm like, well, you know, we got to pay the bills, baby. I mean, they're like, no, we love the podcast. We love those. But, you know, so really the only time you hear the music is at nighttime and on weekends, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Well, that's when people want to rock, man. They want to rock at night. They want to rock on the weekends.
Exactly. What's been going on with you? First of all, I know you got a lot going on. You're heading to ball games, all kinds of great stuff. So great to have you on board. I do like where I'm at this week as opposed to last week when I was behind the steering wheel several times. And I heard that story. So I'm actually, I can get a good facial.
I figured it out this week, man.
That's good. You got it all good. You got your pods in your ears, and you
know,
everything.
Figured it out.
What's going on at work? What's happening there at the Rossbridge Animal Hospital?
Man, we have had a busy day. It's been a good day. Had some took a few teeth out this morning. You know, dogs, they like to chew on things and break their teeth. Mm-hmm. So when that happens, a lot of times they have to get extracted, and that's it's like, you know, that phrase. It's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
I think the person who came up with that phrase was a veterinarian, because taking dog teeth out is not easy.
You got to, I'm assuming you have to put them under.
You do. They have to be. It's just like any other surgery. They are full on under anesthesia, intubated. It's the same process as if you were going to cut them wide open.
And let's talk a little bit here. How many teeth does a dog have?
All right, I always have to do the math here. So they're supposed to have 10 on the top on each side and 11 on the bottom of each side.
So that's 42.
That would be 42 teeth.
Yeah, 42 teeth. And do they have baby teeth? Do they have teeth they lose like humans?
They have baby teeth. They don't have that many baby teeth, though. They some of their molars they don't get as baby teeth, so they have fewer baby teeth than adult teeth. And the really interesting thing about dogs is, because of the breed variation, some dogs won't have all their adult teeth. They won't be there. They'll be missing. And it's really important to be sure that their teeth are not impacted. So if they're impacted, the teeth are there, but they never break the gum line. So if that happens, they can form one of my favorite veterinary terms called a dentigerous cyst. And a dentigerous cyst is basically an unerupted tooth that eats away at the bone, creates a cyst. And so it basically takes up space where the bone should be. And then you have a very weak jaw and it can fracture. So
now how do you so I know that, you know, we've talked about this a lot, that teeth care is obviously a big part of your pet. Then it's relatively new, because I know for a fact that, you know, back in my day, at least in my neighborhood, they would have laughed at you if you told them you're trying to brush your dog's teeth. And it's a different world we live in, and it's a good thing. But how in the world would you know about pre-erupted teeth or teeth that are impacted, stuff like that? Just, you wouldn't know, right?
You wouldn't know.
Unless they're going through some type of pain or something like that?
Well, you wouldn't know unless you know how many teeth your dog is supposed to have, which is easy enough. You can look at that online. And then you just have to count the teeth. And if you're like, wait a minute, we're missing some teeth here. Well, that's when, first of all, when you brought them into us, we would know that teeth had not erupted. Yeah. And so then at that point, we would say, all right, well, it'd be in your pet's best interest for us to sedate him or her and do some dental x-rays and be sure that we don't have a tooth root there. Because, I mean, the vast majority of times, if a tooth is not there and it's supposed to be there in a young dog, like in an old dog, I mean, chances are the tooth fell out. You know, if you got like a 9+ year old dog,
Yeah.
Chances are the tooth just like, rotted out, from attrition.
Mhm.
But if you have a young dog who's over a year old, it should have all of its teeth, and you come in for a wellness visit and it's missing teeth, we're going to want to be sure we x-ray and be sure the tooth is not there. And most of the time it is not. It's just, there was no tooth there. It never developed. It never came in. But every now and then you'll find one that's impacted. And that's when you can get those cysts that we talked about. And those can be pretty dangerous.
That's crazy. And I'm glad we got that. It's funny because I know you'll never make anyone feel guilty, but you obviously want to take care of your pets. I was reading an article from Forbes magazine that just came out a couple weeks ago, and of course they were doing their annual pet care situation where they're now saying like 68%, I think, of American households now have a dog, which is up roughly 11% just in the last like 4 or 5 years. COVID really brought a lot
Yeah.
of pets into the home, and we're spending more money now, like a lot more money, 11 or 12% more than we were just a couple of years ago. When it comes to the billions of dollars we do for our pet care. So it's pretty crazy. And obviously we want to make sure that our pets are happy as we are. And we're spending more time with our pets. I think, I've never realized this. It's hard to believe I'm 59 years old and I'm finally figuring this out. I always know that in anything in life, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a marriage, whether it's with your kids, whether it's with your dog, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's a flower, whether it's a craft of yours, the more time you spend on it, the more it's going to give you back. And I just never realized that spending we always had fat dogs. And my brother, we always called him the Whisperer. He just had this wonderful thing with our dogs. He just really, they would listen to him. And it was because he walked them. He would take them out just once or twice a week and would walk them, and you just get that sense of that empowerment where they listen to him more so than they would listen to anyone else. And now I'm walking my dog every single day, and I'm doing it for a couple reasons. First of all, I need to get the exercise too. It's really keeping me in better shape. From an aerobic and a physical standpoint, but he just is a different dog. He's just a great dog. I mean, it doesn't. He's got just like such a routine, and like children, dogs crave discipline. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, dogs always want to make us happy, but they're like children. They crave to be mentored and to be disciplined.
Well, first of all, I'm going to go back to what you started saying. This is the best 59-year-old man on the planet. Best looking 59-year-old man on the planet,
Yeah,
Tony Curry.
yeah, you're sweet.
Holy cow. 59. That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, the dogs, they want to create a bond with their owner, just like owners want to create a bond with the dog. They need love and attention. And that's where the trust comes in. And anything that you can do, like my dog loves me because I'm the one that feeds it. I'm the one that feeds it 80% of the time, so it loves me. Now, I don't spend a lot of time with him because I'm not home a lot.
yeah,
I'm at work a lot. And then like I'm doing right now, I'm going to my kid's baseball game. So I'm not home a lot. So he loves my wife and my kids because they're at home. They get home at, 3 or 4 in the afternoon and they're with him for hours longer than I am. So he loves them because of the time they spend. But that's, if you're just getting a dog, or if you're like a young person out there and you want a dog to like you, feed it.
mhm,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, the dog is gonna love you more than anyone else in the house. You can almost ignore it the rest of the time that you're there. Feed it, and the dog will love you.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, it really is. And I got to the point where there would be times when I would come home. I went through a divorce. I went through all these different things in the middle of my, and he was it. He was always there for me. But there were some nights where I felt like even he was needy. All he wanted me was like he would not leave me alone. He wanted me. The dog he kept getting underneath my hand and pushing my hand up with his nose, trying to get me to pet him. Would not leave me alone until I'd either let him out or feed him. But there's a very loving thing about that, and I will tell you this: that when you start to react to that, the good stuff, where he does start to sense your emotionality and and how you're feeling from a philosophical standpoint, that's when you really have a very special bond with your pet, and I'm realizing that for the first time in my life, which is really really cool.
Hey, petting a dog is not just like enjoyable for the dog, but it's really enjoyable for people too. There's
No,
something about, yeah, there's
absolutely.
something about petting a dog,
We
that's
got
why
these,
there's
we got these, we got these damn these hand things, these little bubbles, these little pop things. What do they call them? Hand pops, whatever they called, the little
oh,
pegs,
fidget
little
squares.
fidget things,
Yeah,
fidget
yeah,
squares. I mean, that's what that is.
yeah.
I mean, but instead of doing that, put a dog's paw or dog's head or dog's back in your hand, and you'll find yourself, particularly when I'm driving. I'll find myself petting my dog maybe for like a half an hour straight and not even realizing it because my right hand is just going crazy while I'm in it, and it's a very comforting fact. It's
It's
beautiful.
got to do some. I mean, it has to release some type of dopamine, or I don't know. It's got to do something. I saw something the other day, and I don't know if it's true. You see things online, if it's true or not. But it was like the four hormones that are released to them that make you feel good,
Uh-huh.
and things that you had to do to make them, release in your body.
Yep.
And some of them, I wish I should have screenshotted it, but it was like give someone a compliment and it releases like serotonin or dopamine or
Dopamine,
something,
yep.
it's something like that. And it's I don't know, it's just incredible, the
Yep.
things that you can do to make yourself feel good.
No, and there's an endless supply of it. It just keeps coming. It keeps coming. It never runs out. So it's always there for you. It's a great stuff. Dr. Rab Stewart, Rossbridge Animal Hospital, 208-0301. And before we get too much further, I want to mention our fine folks at Sasquatch Toys and Comics. I talked to Seth last week. They are blowing and going, man. They're having just fantastic success. Of course, they got comics from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, all kinds of toys that are unopened, still in the box, everything from Legos to Star Wars. If you're looking for that special toy you played with back in the 60s and 70s, they will have it or they will find it. It's amazing what they have. And they have a store down there in Homewood. You want to walk in and just got to go back a couple of centuries, man. It feels bad. Well, a couple of 10 years, maybe. It may have been a century. They probably got something back from a century. It's amazing. Sasquatch Toys and Comics. We're actually going to have Seth on our television show on ABC 3340 coming up this Saturday morning. He'll be bringing some of his rare toys and some of his great comics. So make sure you check out ABC 3340's starting lineup this Saturday morning from 10:30 to 11 o'clock. We've
You want
got
to talk about a fantastic gift for somebody who has everything?
yeah.
Is stuff at Sasquatch.
Oh yeah,
I
no
mean,
doubt, no doubt.
like you can go, you can get somebody the same old stuff that you always get them, but you find them something that reminds them of their youth.
Oh man,
Man, that's like the perfect gift. Like when you're struggling to find something.
you're exactly right. And when you find something like that, that's really like it seems like you put a lot more thought into it. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way. And that's a
Because you
good
can't
thing.
find
That's
that
a good
stuff. Like you can't find that stuff online. You have to get in your car and drive somewhere and put in the effort, the time and effort to go look for something
thing. Mhm.
on top of finding something cool. That means a lot.
No, and I go back to, and I know you and I have had this discussion about sports cards. Um, there was such a simpler, it was always a simpler time. But man, I just had I really love collecting cards of all types. And I can vividly remember the toys that I used to play with. And I was a big Lego kid. We didn't have the wheels and all that stuff. We just had the blocks. There were no wheels or it was just blocks. We had a, if we were rich enough, you got the erector set. But then that was too much. It was string and metal, and it was like, get out of here. But we really remember our toys because they were so easy. I mean, I remember the first computer game I got. It was a little hand football game that you could still buy now. And it just was a line, and you just ran the line in between the other lines, and the other lines were in, so there was no football players. It was the line, and you would try to make it all the way past the other one to the other side of the video. And I would play that thing for like days.
Yeah.
And it was just a line. It wasn't, it was even a simpler game of Pong, I guess it would be. But we loved it. And I mean, that's how that stuff, it was ingrained in my brain. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net, info at TonyCurryRadio.net. Patricia in Birmingham wants to know, ask Dr. Rab, what's going on with all the pharmaceutical commercials for pets now? Pretty much, you cannot turn the TV on any channel, anywhere, anytime, and not see a pharmaceutical from Lilly, from somebody, certainly for human beings. But now I'm seeing a lot more of it for pets, whether it be for allergies, whether it be, I saw, was it Simprex, the one where the dog's going through he's going through the path and jumping down the heartworm's mouth, which is absolutely disgusting. That thing is disgusting. Then he comes out its ass. I mean, he's running in between the ticks. I don't know. Was it Simprex?
I
Whatever.
think maybe maybe it's a Simparica. Is
That's
it
Simparica.
Simparica?
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It jumps right down the
Yeah, the
heartworms.
parasite.
That
Yeah, the
thing is
parasite they have on the
nasty.
commercials is
Yeah,
disgusting.
it is really nasty. And it comes flying out its ass. And I'm thinking that dog needs a bath. Um, no, but it does seem like we have a lot more. And there's one now with cats, and it's got a claw mark, the red flag. It says it's a red flag with the word cat on it. It's got a paw mark. In other words, your cat's giving you red flags about how it's feeling. It's not happy. Talk about some of the new meds you've heard about. What are they? Why are we finally getting them? Why all of a sudden does it seem like we have all these meds when we hadn't had them in the past?
Well, maybe because a few minutes ago you said that 68% of households have a pet, and that number has always been around 50%. As far back as I can remember, it's been about 50%. And now with COVID, it shot up to 68%. So now just those, that 20 percentage points, I guess it makes sense for these big companies to start doing big ad campaigns for these medications that all dogs need. All dogs need to be on heartworm prevention. All dogs need to be on flea and tick prevention. So when you have 68% of those TVs or iPhones or, iPads or, that are on YouTube or whatever, it makes sense to market to those people. Because if you think about it, like the human drug companies, think about the small percentage that they are marketing to. Okay, like you're gonna market a heart medication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what percentage of people are gonna have that ailment? Not
Yeah,
that many. But
no.
when 68% of the people that are watching whatever you're putting out there need the product, it's a no-brainer to market to them.
Yeah. And that's probably why we're starting to see more pet insurance commercials. I never thought in a million years that we'd have pet insurance.
Yeah.
And it is so, and I mean, I'm not saying it's not super important depending on how many pets you have. If I had 4 or 5 dogs, and I used to have 4, um, but if I had multiple dogs, it would be certainly something I'd invest in now, just because 2 of your dogs end up getting sick. I mean, you can talk about thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, can
Man,
you
we see
imagine?
it more and more. We're seeing it more and more. And um I'm a fan of it because it really does help people obviously with the cost.
Mhm.
It helps them do that gold standard whether it's medication or a surgery or a procedure or a diagnostic, whatever. I love when people have it because it gives us the freedom to do the things that we need to do.
Mhm.
I don't really know a whole lot about the human side of health insurance. I mean, you hear people say that it affects how people practice medicine, and that's very scary to me. Like I
Yeah.
don't like the idea of that. But when an animal has pet insurance, it doesn't make us practice any differently. It just opens up the door for us to do what's best for the animal, not to
Yeah.
do things that are unnecessary, but just to do what needs to be done. And the owner doesn't have to worry about the cost.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too many people, and this goes for these auto insurance things, where you pay to, if your car is 15 years old,
Yeah.
they'll fix whatever. I think too many people go into things like that, thinking they're going to have an issue. It's no doubt they're going to have an issue, and they just don't want to have to pay for it, and they want to make sure they have their wheels. And so it's almost like they feel like they're going to make a deal. There's a reason why these insurance companies are doing so well. It's because you're
Yeah.
going to pay a lot more into it than you're going to get back out of it, no doubt. And you should hope that if you have insurance for your pet, you don't even ever remotely need it, because that means your pet is healthy, and that's good, and that's certainly something. That's why we have insurance. I had to go. I went 3 years without insurance
Wow.
in my 50s.
That's scary.
It scared the hell out of me because I'm a karma guy. I'm much more than a karma guy. I'm a faith guy, and that's why I got through it, because I knew God was going to take care of me. It's not to say He wouldn't throw me a curve every once in a while. He's got a sense of humor, right? But there was a time where I just had to cut everything down to the bone and start over again. And my health care, just as important as it is, I felt like I could go a couple of years without having it, and I got through it. Um, but yeah, that's something that it's because I know a lot of people don't have it. But that's kind of scary. So certainly something I want to look at my dogs. Info at Tony Curry Radio Night at info at TonyCurryRadio.net. My son was playing with a buddy he has at school the other day, and they're getting ready for summer vacation, and he told me his name's Kevin. This is Xavier, my special needs boy, and told me that Kevin had rabies. And I started laughing, and I said, because my son thinks he's a train, and so I was like, I said, you think he has rabies because he's a dog? He said, no. He told me he has rabies, and I said he got rabies from another animal. He said, yeah, he got bitten by a dog or something. And he has rabies. Can you please clarify what the hell he's talking about?
Well, I don't think he has rabies. Rabies is fatal if it goes untreated. Um, and just because you're bitten by a dog doesn't mean you have rabies. You obviously have to be bitten by an animal that has rabies to get rabies.
And if you're bitten by something that's wild, you want to try to bring that animal in, correct?
Well, I mean, I think that you could try to do that, although that can be dangerous. But there are certain animals where you have to be worried about rabies. You have to be worried about rabies with skunks and foxes and bats and dogs and cats.
Raccoons,
Um, what was that? Say that one more time, Tony.
raccoons and possums.
Yeah, yeah, raccoons.
Okay.
Not so much possums. I don't know that possums carry it. That'd be something I would need to look into. Never heard that possums have it. But if you're bitten by one of those animals, you probably just want to go ahead and do the post-exposure vaccines, and obviously don't take a chance.
Yeah.
But you'd have to catch the animal, kill the animal, submit the brain for testing, to know if it has rabies or not.
And
And,
so
and-
the myth growing up, this goes all the way back to Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off the bat, was that these shots that you get are incredibly painful and they go straight in your stomach and they go over the course of months and months and months. True or no?
well, that the old way, yes, but now they've advanced the post-exposure. I've never had to have it, but I have known people that have had to have it a little more recently, like in the past few years. And from what I heard from them, it's fewer injections, they're less painful. I don't think they go into your abdomen anymore. So you still don't want to have to deal with it, but it's not like it used to be.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Yeah, I remember growing up because for some reason that was one of those things where we were talking last week. We got several emails about the ticks. People were wondering because they actually had children where they were taking hot matches and actually branding their children. They were actually burning the heads of the ticks off their skin because they heard that if you got everything but the head would grow back into a full tick again. The only way to get it out, even with tweezers, it wasn't going to work. You had to take a match and you had to burn its head off. And I was like, and I
Yeah.
remember, I remember growing up learning about that. While we stuck M80s underneath our gym shoes and tried to blow our feet off and did crazy things like that. So, uh, anything else interesting going on at the shop?
Oh, I mean, we had a dog that potentially has a really serious condition of either immune mediated hemolytic anemia or
Ah,
leukemia.
okay.
So,
What was the first thing and how did they get the second?
so the first one is an immune mediated disease where your body attacks itself and it makes you anemic. So your immune system attacks your red blood cells because your body puts a little marker on them, and your immune system then sees them as foreign.
Okay.
So the body will break them down. Or it could have leukemia. It's seeing an internal medicine specialist right now to try to differentiate between the two because they can look very similar. Leukemia is a cancer that can affect red and white blood cells. So basically, the way that these owners knew something was wrong with the dog was that it was not eating well. It was pretty lethargic, but they noticed that the gum color on the dog was very pale. An animal, dog or cat, their gum color should be, pink, like bubblegum pink.
Mm-hmm.
And so these owners, they looked at their dog's gums and they were very pale. And so they knew right away there was something wrong. So that's a really good way to figure out if your dog, if your dog's not doing well, if it's lethargic, not wanting to eat, then that can be an indicator if their gums are pale,
Okay.
that they're anemic.
And this reminds me, and then I'll let you go. We were just talking about, us spending a lot of money on our pets and the fact that a lot more people now own pets. According to Forbes, 67% of all households now have a pet. It's up like 55% from just like 5 or 6 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was. We've certainly seen human medicine jump And it's because we have scientists and we pour billions and billions of dollars into pharmaceuticals and all kinds of different things. We still don't have a cure for cancer, and there's things we're still working on. But it is amazing that it used to be. I mean, even my shoulder surgery I went into last December. I can remember 10 years ago when you had the same surgery on your rotator cuff, you'd have to wear a sling for 6 months and you couldn't use it and you couldn't raise it above your head. And now, I mean, 3 hours after I'm done using the thing. So they've progressed with the knowledge and the technique of how to make us feel better and get better. From a pet standpoint, from an animal standpoint, have you seen an increase in that just over the last few years because of the ownership? It seems like we're spending so much more time and money into our pets than we've ever done. Have you seen those influences?
Oh yeah, I mean, we can definitely make animals live longer now, for sure. Now, at the same time, I think that there are things just like in people that we're exposed to that could, potentially limit their life. So, for example, like, I mean, there's a medication that we give for allergies that is a known cancer-causing drug.
Yeah.
And but the pets, in the past, they would suffer with this for their whole life, and they wouldn't die from it, but they would be miserable. They would live longer and be miserable. Well, now we have these medications that can, vastly improve their quality of life, but it may shorten their life.
Yeah.
So, those are two things that you have to balance out.
Yeah. Next door neighbor, when I first moved here, gosh, Lee, I can't believe it's 2.5, 3 years ago. She had what I said, 7 dogs, 6 dogs, 6 or 7 dogs. You've seen their dogs. They've come to see you. They actually had several put down. She just got herself a puppy Chihuahua last week. So now she's got 3 dogs. So now she'll have 4. Which is fine. I mean, the less barking, the better. But all of her dogs are been strays, and she's been a sweetheart that she's taken these dogs in. But she's finally got a dog that she actually wanted, in a Chihuahua. Can you give me any types of fun facts or any information about a Chihuahua that I could throw her away? Because I'm going to see her probably here in about a half an hour.
A breed standard for Chihuahuas is like an open fontanelle in their head that never closes, so they always have a little hole in the top of their head.
Really?
Yeah, most of them do. Most of them.
How about that? An open fontanelle.
You got it. Fontanelle.
Tell people how they can find you, my man.
You call us 208-0301. You can find us on Facebook. Find us online, rossbridgevet.com.
Always brought to you by Sasquatch Toys and Comics down in Homewood. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.